on everyone. Yeah.
I went rock climbing today and to my secret climbing spot, and there were two guys from Colorado already climbing there. Yeah, and I was a little surprised. But
Punk 'em.
That's on everyone.
yeah.
Yeah.
Sweet. Okay, I think that we're on. Hold on.
I can hear it upstairs.
Yeah. Okay. I can't see it, but
I'm pretty sure that's what I can hear my husband watching upstairs. So
okay. All right. As long as I can see the chat, I'm good. And I can't hear the audio. Yeah. Okay, cool. All right. So here we are again. Welcome to night 2 of, actually I did a vote on what this should be called. And I offered up 2 PG titles for our chats. One was Ladies Night and the other one was Track Talk After Dark. And Track Talk After Dark was a surprising, or not surprising, but it was a runaway winner. So that's what we're going to call it for now. We amongst ourselves have a more racier version of what we call this thing, but we'll call it Track Talk After Dark for now. So welcome if you're back. Thanks for coming back and hearing us again, spending your night with us. We are gonna kick things off with just some general recruiting questions that we had. This is nothing specific towards any university because that is not NCAA compliant. I actually submitted questions to our compliance director, and so we're good on all that. But let's start with just some brief intros since we did some longer ones last week and some people might be new to the program. So my name is Carrie Lane. I'm the throws coach at University of Wyoming. Sarah Walker is a high school coach and teacher at Buffalo High School in Wyoming. She was a 15-time All-American at Arizona State in 3 or 4 different throwing events. Sarah?
technically 5.
5.
Indoor and outdoor shot put,
Okay.
hammer weight, discus.
Nice. And she, excuse me while I take a drink of water.
Yep.
She owns and runs a camp called 307. This is the new one. 307 Throw Wyoming. Is that what it's called?
Yeah, it's 307 throws camp. Yeah.
307 Throws Camp. So yeah. Wealth of knowledge. Dana Pounds Lyon is the throws coach and strength coach at U.S. Air Force Academy. Was a 2-time national champ in the javelin. Was on Team USA a couple, 3 or 4 times. And yeah, so she is joining us with all her knowledge on all the throws. Susie Powell is a 3-time Olympian in the discus, 4-time world champ team member. Yep, and has just started coaching. Susie had a throwing career of 25 years, from age 10 to age 34, and then took a break, had a couple kids. Do you own a business with your husband or?
Yeah, so almonds and walnuts are really big where we live in California. So my husband grows and sells like the baby almond and walnut trees to growers or farmers here in California.
Okay, cool.
I'm not really involved outside of, I don't know, good advice.
Dana is a supporter of your business.
Your almonds.
Yeah.
As soon as everyone enjoys our nuts, Carrie, it's true.
Everyone loves the nuts of the Ruth family, so great. Okay, moving on. Lindsey Malone is the multis and jumps coach at CU Boulder. Her husband is Casey Malone, who is a world-class discus thrower and multi-time national champ and all that stuff. And Lindsey, maybe unbeknownst to many, has competed in the Olympic trials in pistol shooting. And was also I don't think skeleton does Olympic trials, but he did for an Olympic spot in the skeleton. Is that a good way to put it?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay, cool. And then also competed post-collegiately in the high jump. So Lindsey is like the ultimate multi-sport athlete, which is pretty So anyway, yeah, we're gonna start with some recruiting stuff, but ladies, to your surprise, I have a little game that I want to start off with. Are you
I
ready?
love games.
Yes.
For game.
Okay. I call this game down the power alley, which as throws coaches, we know the power alley, right? Just like down the middle, a little bit left of sector. So like really awesome throw. Or out of sector, that throw sucked. Or video review. Like maybe it was good, maybe it's not. Okay. So I'm going to give you some topics, throws related, lifestyle related, whatever. And I want to discuss briefly, should these trends continue down the power alley, throw them out of sector, or video review, maybe keep them in play with provisions.
The video review is like maybe.
It's like a maybe, or maybe there's some stipulations, something like that.
Yes.
Okay.
I feel a little underprepared for this, Carrie. I'm just
No, it's
saying.
okay.
I feel like there
that
was
was
no
fine.
chance to be ready for this game.
Susie's prepared. That was my goal. Keep you unprepared. All right. So first trend, here we go. Modern day track and field athletes sporting mullets.
Out
of sector. Out of sector.
Out of sector, says Sarah. Okay.
Do they own tigers?
Okay.
And have multiple husbands? Because if so, I say down the power alley.
Down the power alley. Susie's on board. Okay. All right. With some stipulations. Other two Colorado ladies, how do we feel about this?
Gonna have to go video review for me since I had one of those, and it is what it is.
I like that guy.
He's awesome. The mullet was powerful.
Okay, yeah.
It doesn't fit our military high and tight, but I think because it doesn't, I'm non-compliant and send it. So
Send it. Okay. All right. So where are we at? Sarah's out of sector. You know, is it my tie vote? I'm kind of like down power alley. I'm kind of into it, unless you suck. Then I don't think you can sport
There
it.
should be minimum standards.
Right.
Yeah. Okay, here's another trend. I don't know if this only happens at our household, but Girl Scout cookies for breakfast. How do we feel about that?
100% during quarantine. No rules.
Okay,
Yep.
yeah. Anyone else?
what time's breakfast?
I mean, during quarantine, it's anywhere from 5:30 to 11:30.
Out of sector. I start my day with like, has to.
If my kids are in school, power alley for me.
Okay.
When the children are home, probably out of sector, or that would be the expectation daily.
Okay, that's fair. Okay.
I'm gonna side with Sarah. Yeah, out of sector.
Okay, no good. All right.
Last
Okay, good. I think I'm kind of power alley on that too. Although actually, you know, I haven't gotten my Girl Scout cookies this year. My dealer, as I like to call her, she's like 7 or 10 or I don't know. She's short. She can't drive. So her name's Riley. I think that she's like holding out on me. Like her parents, they don't return my calls. I messaged her, Riley, on TikTok, and she won't get back to me.
On TikTok.
So I don't know what's going on. They're claiming it's some kind of COVID-19 delay, but
You might need to find a new dealer.
I think you lost out on those.
yeah,
You just switch to almonds.
They're in the
yeah,
mail.
might go straight up next. All right. Okay, cool. So you guys think of a few more trends in the track world for next week, and we'll keep playing that game.
All right.
Okay. Great, thanks. All right, so we're going to talk about recruiting. If you're watching, there is a chat section that you can write questions. If there anything specific to like a specific school, we will not answer them. But anything else that you have, oh, my friend Dana wrote in. She loves this. My other friend Dana, I know.
It's like, Dana, you're multitasking.
Does it me?
Anyway, yeah, so if you have some questions, you can type them in, or I have my phone out if you want to message me on my YO Throws account. I think that's allowed, and I can read them out. And again, it can't be anything specific. We're just going to talk about like general recruiting, like some questions that have come up, and they're pretty general on dates and some factors in choosing a school and that kind of stuff. What else do I have? Yeah, I think that's it. I think we can go ahead and get started with some of our questions that have come up. The first question that came up was, I think, a good starting point. And that was, how do different scholarships work? And what do you need to walk on versus earning a scholarship? So I think that's a good question. Track is a lot different than like a full scholarship sport like football or volleyball. And so I think it's confusing for some kids, especially when they see football kids signing and stuff like that, and they don't really understand how track and field works. So does anyone want to take that on or start somewhere? Yeah, go, Lindsay.
Yeah. So I think the basics to know are fully funded programs for Division I have 12.6 men's scholarships to cover the entire program. And that's by the NCAA, not by the institution. They can have fewer than that and still be an NCAA Division I, but a fully funded is 12.6. So most teams carry anywhere from 35 to 65 athletes. That means the majority of the students are either walk-ons or partial scholarships. On the women's side, there's 18 full scholarships for the entire program. Why there's a difference between men's track and women's track, since there's more for women, is because we also have to balance out football and all the other men's sports programs. So you have to have equal throughout the entire institution. This rule was made decades ago, probably needs to be looked at again, but that's fully funded programs. So it's 12.6 and 18. Scholarships, I've worked at 2 different schools and 2 different conferences. So it depends on the school and the conference that you're in for our programs specifically. Dana's got a different scenario going on there. But you can be a walk-on and be a totally amazing, needed, wanted athlete, but there's no more scholarship available for you. Or you can sometimes at different programs be a walk-on and earn a scholarship. Or sometimes programs don't have, they've reached their roster limits and they don't have any spots for walk-ons, but that potentially could change years after that. Some schools scholarship based on where you ranked out of high school, some scholarship based on where they think you're going to place once you're in college. Those can range anywhere from 1% to 100%.
Boom. Lindsay, nailed it.
Nailed it.
Thanks.
Yeah, I will add one thing to that. I'm going to share the screen. New technology here.
Whoa.
I know. So let's see if this works. Can you guys see that?
Yeah,
Yes.
Okay.
fancy.
Okay, well, this is not mine. And I tried to find who put this up. This is someone, I think I grabbed it off of Twitter or Facebook. It was, I think, a high school coach who did it. So I'm sorry if I'm stealing your work, but I want to give you credit. So whoever you are, good job. So this person went through all the conferences, Division I conferences, and I think probably took like 8th place to 1st place and gave a range. So if you look in the top, if you can see this, the ACC men's 100, can you see? No, okay. So ACC men's 100, they put a range of 1039 to 996. Oh yeah, those are, it says up here, the top 2018 top 8 marks by conference. So if you're a recruit and you have a specific school that you're interested in, or a few specific schools, correct me if I'm wrong, ladies, but I would say this is kind of the first line of defense. When we see marks, we'll look at, does this person have the potential, or does this person have the marks already to score in the conference meet? And so I think that's a good starting point that a lot of recruits could probably do a little bit of research on. TFERS.org is a great resource for that. It has all the conference results from, I think, almost every conference in the country, Division I, II, and III, and most junior college stuff as well. And so that kind of gives you an idea of where you stand in the conference. This person even put in their chart, for example, if you're finishing your junior year and you are a boy running 50.5, it is not realistic to expect to be recruited by a team in the SEC. There you go. Not my words, this person's words, but it kind of gives you a idea of where you stand. And so that's on my, I don't even know where I put that anymore. I can post these again, but again, I want to give the right person credit. So
That's very cool.
any thoughts on that, ladies?
I've told high school kids that, you know, they're state champs maybe in Wyoming. That's where I live right now. Not necessarily the best track state for a lot of reasons, but we have some really good athletes in our state that we'll see in various events, or year to year, there'll be a few that kind of like stick out for whatever reason. And so that's some of the advice that I give the kids is like, go and find the school that you want to compete for, or you think you want to compete for, and look and see what it takes for their athletes to be placing at their conference meets or at their regional meets, so that you can see, can you step in and compete right away? Or is it going to take you 2 or 3 years to be able to compete? Because that's what a coach is going to look at. I think for boys in the throws events, it's hard because you change implement size. But I think it's important for high school boys and high school coaches of boys to understand that college coaches know that. And so if you reach out to a specific college because you're interested in that and you can't figure out what that conversion would be, and maybe Carrie, Dana, you guys could kind of throw an idea out about what that conversion typically is. But I think it's important for people to know that, you know, college coaches take into account that boys are switching implement weights, and they look at that. Now, girls, it's straight across the board. Like what you throw when you're a 14-year-old and a freshman in high school is the same implement you're going to throw when you're a 30-year-old competing post-collegiately. So that's not going to change. It's a little bit easier to compare.
Yep, I agree. And yeah, and I would say also with the multi-events too, because you have to, you know, kind of figure some things out with, is the kid fast or is the kid strong? And I mean, Lindsey obviously can speak to that, but there's a little more guesswork and sort of like assessing potential that you have to do both with the multi-events and the throws. Yeah, I guess with the boys, I was thinking about like, how do I assess like a junior boy and what their potential is? I mean, the best way to assess is for me to go see that person. But if I can't, and I'm just looking at a list, I will look at what that boy is throwing at the end of their junior year, because that's when a lot of development happens. Like boys could improve 10 feet in the shot put in their junior year. So I'll look at that, and then I'll kind of prognosticate that that boy will be throwing the 16-pound shot that distance, that junior year distance, by his sophomore year. So that's like a general gauge that I use. Is prognosticate a word, Lindsey?
That was impressive if it is.
If it's not, it should be. We're putting that in for you.
We understand.
But anyway, that's like a general gauge that I use, is their junior year mark with the end of their junior year mark with the high school implement. I generally feel like they can hit that mark again by the end of their freshman year or early into their sophomore year. You also have to take into account a lot of boys are going to switch to the spin in the shot, and so there's a lot of other factors.
I think 2 things to note, if I could say that, like to tie in last chat's conversation about being like an all-around athlete, I think benefits your ability to develop. I think from a junior year, senior year, which is when most people are, you know, signing and stuff like that, and then going into their freshman year in college. So I think like looking at their athleticism, if you will, like to tie that in. And then like the second point to that, I forgot what it was. Yeah, I don't know.
Sick. Nice. Yeah, we talked a lot about just like the other factors in the last talk on Monday. We talked a lot about, being just an all-around athlete, multi-sport athlete. We talked about like a softball throw test you could do to determine if you're going to be a javelin thrower or if you have some potential in the jav. So yeah, if you want a little more specifics on that, definitely check out the last talk. We talked a lot about that.
I remember what it was. So what do you, let's just go ahead and jump in if I can to like segue. What do you tell like current high school juniors who lost their junior season in this like COVID crap right now, right? And like, what do you tell them as they're trying to get recruited when they're like trying to prove themselves in their marks right now? I mean, granted, we have so far, hopefully, at least New Balance Nationals and maybe a couple other, like meets that might happen this summer with like USATF, like Junior Olympic stuff or something like that. You know what I mean? But like other meets, like what do you tell a junior right now, you know what I mean, that might have lost their junior season?
Yeah, I mean, I think in general, it's going to be a much later cycle of recruiting for next year. Like, I think that kids are in so many different places. Like I think Sarah's one of them, but I know in Nebraska, the high school coaches cannot send any workouts to their athletes. And so like, even if that athlete could throw at Junior Olympics, they haven't been able to get anywhere for months or do anything. So I think it's just going to be a later recruiting cycle when those kids can get senior year marks.
Which is also okay. There's different timetables for everyone. And
Right.
we can technically sign people all the way up until the day before school starts. So oftentimes there is still money available. Oftentimes there's still a roster spot available. Everyone has a different circumstance, who turns it on at what point, and what the team has available. There's some programs even that change their staffs, and then that looks different for the roster and positions can open up then. So I feel like just the message would be like, just keep working hard, even if you need to like film yourself out in, a field, or the great video that was just posted the other day for shot put in the rain. Film yourself, measure it out, show the coach, those type of things. Don't do anything dangerous. But that you're continually trying to work through things and improve yourself. I think that says a lot about you.
Agreed.
I think it's probably like to reassure kids too, everybody's in the same situation.
Yes.
Like there's no college coach that knows how to handle this. There's no high school coach that knows how to handle this. Like, we can't expect a 17-year-old kid to have any idea what to do when none of the adults know what to do with it. So just like reassurance that like everybody's in the same boat and you're not really behind the 8 ball, because every other kid that's going to get recruited is in the exact same situation. So
So our friends Jill Camarena Williams and Kara Patterson Winger, hello, they both want me to share that link or expand it to that document, which I can't, but I'll put it on my Instagram or something. I'll put it on Twitter afterwards. And again, I feel like I'm a little bit stealing from someone else, and I wish I knew who that person was, but I'll put it up and give Anonymous some credit for it. So that you can see that chart. It was very well done and very thorough.
Carrie, I have a question. Well, for all of you guys, actually. So for people that lost their senior years, let's say the high school athlete that needed it or wanted or anticipated the senior year being the showcase year, what would you recommend for that athlete? Should they gray shirt and go take a few units at a community college? What do they try to petition to one of the universities they're interested in? Or, I've heard stories of athletes where a particular university was interested, but now they're going to keep the seniors another year. And so then whatever money that may have been available for that senior athlete now is no longer available for next year. Any ideas on how you guys are handling that, or advice that you would give to a parent or a coach with an athlete in that position?
What do you got, Lindsay?
Okay. Might be experiencing this. I'm not speaking just solely for my university, but I know many people are experiencing this. So the challenges right now are we can't bring anyone out on an official visit. So if we sign them in the fall, that's awesome. They're set, they're good. Right now, I'm sure many universities, not only my own, are still looking at kids and very excited about them, but we can't bring them out for a visit. So we've done virtual visits now where a lot of the departments are creating videos, graphics, all of that to try to get all of that information out. And then also, I'm excited about if I would have signed them in the fall, I would have been as excited off their junior marks. So just because they don't have a senior season doesn't mean I'm any less excited about them. But it is challenging for many institutions with the 6 year coming back using that scholarship, that money might not be available. So for some students, it might be an opportunity where they do take a gray shirt or take classes elsewhere, but then you have your time clock starts if you go into 12 hours and all of that. So you have to be cautious and really know your NCAA rules, which there's a great website, which our compliance person told me about today, which I'm pretty sure is ncaaec.org. And that's the eligibility center that will kind of address some of these questions. So we'll give a plug to that as well. But then also some schools, if you choose to go to that school and you want to be a part of the program, maybe you train with a club team for a year at the university and then try out for the team the next year if that's a possibility. It's just going to be a very interesting landscape. But I feel like a lot of the coaches that were excited about you earlier in the year before this happened will continue that excitement if they have that as a possibility. But my biggest suggestion would be everyone just ask so many questions and try to get a feeling out for what the university, the team, all of that has available, because we're going through this together.
Lindsay, is it ncaa.ec.org or just EC?
I wrote it down over here. Let me check real quick.
I just have my compliance person on
I
speed
think
dial.
it's ncaa.ec.org, but I can also fact check that right now.
Okay. While you fact check, we'll move on to the next question. All right. This is another recruiting question. And then there's a lot more like, what should I do as a high school athlete kind of thing. So we'll kind of categorize them. Okay. The most important of note things to consider as a female thrower when choosing a coach. And then the follow-up, did you choose the right university or coach in your opinion? Is anyone going to say no?
I'm gonna say no. I picked the worst basketball coach ever. Sorry.
Wow, that's true. It worked out for you. Yeah.
Totally. There, I said no. I just want to be the one person.
Good job, Dana.
Perfect. Perfect.
Susie, I want to hear about yours. What do you think
Yeah.
someone should?
No, I mean, I think in the
Factor.
context, huh?
Like the factor that a female athlete trying to pick a university or a coach?
Yeah, like as far as like advice going out, I think, you have to kind of know thyself and to the best of your ability, ferret out who lines up with your values and philosophy as much as possible. I think that's difficult sometimes though for a 17 or 18-year-old. Maybe not, maybe you guys are way more advanced than I was, but do you really even know what your sort of values are at that age? Hopefully you do. Or philosophy, you may not be developed athletically in terms of that scope, but I would say, just I think the official visits help. And like Lindsay said, it's kind of a bummer that kids right now can't go do that, because I do feel like that personal interaction that we're all missing right now is such a vital part, and you do get a sense of chemistry and how you might fit into that program. So, in my recruiting process, there were some schools that surprised me in terms of what I really liked, and some schools surprised me where I thought, oh yeah, this probably isn't a good fit for me. And then just my own, do I feel like I picked the right coach? I would say yes, because at the time, and hopefully, will you guys stop me if I said this on Monday night's talk? But I wanted to be a big fish in a big pond, and UCLA at the time was UCLA athletes. That's who I was talking to. I did a Zoom chat with the UCLA throws team Saturday. That's where it came from. I'm like, this sounds awfully familiar. So I wanted to be the best, and so Art and UCLA were the best throws program in the country. And it came down to Stanford and UCLA, and Stanford is Stanford in terms of prestige of the institution and whatnot, but it was still kind of building its track program. And so from that perspective, I think I chose the right school. And, the other athletes that were there, the environment, could not have been created in any other place at that time. So But for those of you out there trying to figure it out, I think like what Carrie was saying earlier, just ask as many questions as you can, or maybe it was Lindsay saying that, just inquire and try to figure out what might be the best fit for you. If you're in a position where you can do that, if you're good enough, where you have the luxury of making those kinds of choices.
I think I was kind of like Susie, right? Like kind of took the same approach. Like I wanted to be the best. And so where can I go that I can have competition every day and have teammates that are as good at as good as me or better than me. And so that played into my decision, knowing who was already on the team and who would be my training partners, where their ability level was at. But I also think that just talking, like you have to ask a lot of questions about stuff that's not sports related also, to make sure that you are getting an academic school that, because there's life after track, whether track is 4 years or track is 10 years, whatever that might look like is different for everybody. Like you have to take a piece of that and realize like that's equally important as the track piece of it, because if you graduate, you're on a full scholarship if you're lucky enough, and you graduate 4 years later or 5 years later and you have a degree and you're like, I don't know what to do with this degree. What were the last 4 years for besides competing, which is kind of the fun of being in college and being a collegiate athlete, I think. And so I think that's important, is to like make sure you're not settling for a university because you have big eyes for something athletically, but they don't have what you need academically or what you're going to be interested in for a profession. I took 5 official visits, and I took 1 official visit to Colorado State, being just right there in Fort Collins. So I quite literally was all over the country in my visits, and like I didn't have a lot of rhyme or reason how I narrowed things down. It just came down to kind of a gut instinct when I was on the campus, how I felt with the people that were on the team, what my interaction was with the coach. I had very positive interactions with a couple of coaches, and I had, to remain nameless, very negative interactions with some other coaches. And that made the decision kind of easy for me. So once you make a decision about a school, when you're being recruited, I think it's important, when you know that you've made a decision, to not tag the coach along and just drag them along with you because they really want you to come to their school, but you know that's not the place for you. Just tell them, because that's part of their job as a college coach, to find the next person or to be told no, right? And so I think it's important to do that once you've made a decision, like this isn't the place for me, to just go ahead and be honest with the coach about it, because it takes the pressure off of you as the athlete. It takes the pressure off of the coach. They can, move on to the next person that they're recruiting or whatever it might be. So I 100% believe that I went to the right place. I mean, I couldn't have asked for a better situation with my training partners, with who came behind me, the teammates that I had the couple of years after I was at ASU. Dave was just like a young, excited coach, and he loved what he was doing, and he was super passionate about it. And I knew he came from UCLA. He came from a UCLA program that knew how to be successful. Like you figured out how to be successful when you were at UCLA. And so Dave already knew what that was like as an athlete. And I just felt super confident in his ability to translate that then as a coach to get his athletes to do the same thing. So, so I don't know if I had to like say one factor. I'm kind of a go on your gut and like follow your instincts. And I tell a lot of high school kids, at the end of the day, this feels like the biggest decision of your life. And at that point, when you're 18, it is potentially the biggest decision of your life. But when you're 25, it is not the biggest decision of your life anymore. There are much bigger things to decide on. And so if you make the wrong decision, you can transfer, you can go somewhere else. And if you take a chance and it's right for you, then you're going to love the 4 or 5 years that you get to be there, and you won't regret anything about it. So I'm kind of a go with your gut and hope that my gut's right and follow my heart and not overthink the decision too much.
Yeah, I think a couple things. never choose a school just because you like the coach. There's so many other, I mean, you need to like your coach, but if that's the only reason that you're going to the school, you're going to be miserable. I tell recruits, like, I'm only with my athletes 20% maybe of their entire day, and then they're doing other stuff at the university. And so I need to make sure that, yes, like the coach, but do they like the environment? And like Sarah, do you like your teammates? Do you like the vibe on the team, the vibe at the school? And don't be afraid to tell a coach no. I tell kids no all the time. Like, I'll get emails, and I always copy my volunteer coach Melanie on them, and she's like, "Wow, you just shot that kid down." I'm like, "Yeah, I mean, the kid's not good enough, and the kid needs to know that I'm not going to string them along, just like I don't want kids stringing me along." So, yeah, I guess I will say one more thing. When I was a younger coach, I had some success early with a couple throwers at Coastal Carolina, where I first started coaching the throws. And then I went to UVA, and now I was kind of thrown in with the big dogs. But I didn't feel like I had the cachet of some of these other coaches that I was kind of competing for recruits with. But I landed some recruits that, like, on paper, they should go to some other big school with some big name coach. But they liked the school, and they liked how personable and how individualized my training was. They knew that they were going to be taken care of. And so I don't know. I think that's a message to the high school coach that, yes, there are other coaches out there who maybe are not the big name, but they're good coaches, and they clearly care about you as a person. And I think that's important for high schoolers to hear. And I think it's important for young college coaches to hear too, that you don't need to be the big dog out there, as long as you're thorough and you follow through and you are truly there for the kid. That goes a long way with recruits.
Nailed it.
Nailed it. All right. We got a couple other questions coming in here. We kind of already answered it. This is from Hannah. Hi, Hannah. She's a grad assistant coach at Florida. For the college coaches, how do each of you decide to allocate scholarships between events? Do you base it on the people you're recruiting, or recruit based on the events you need? Interesting question.
Mhm.
Do you want me to repeat it?
No, we're good.
Does anyone have any thoughts?
For me, it's the student. It's choosing a member of your family that you're going to spend 4 or 5 years with, and how you think you can help progress them through their time there. So obviously, if the conference is totally stacked in one event and they may never score, that's a challenge. But you're probably recruiting for your conference anyway. So I definitely, I mean, I think early on, when I was early on in a coach, going like, okay, I need a triple jumper this year, or I need a high jumper, or a pole vaulter, or a multi, and kind of allocated the money to that because I had other things. But now in my latter years, since I coach the multis, I look for kids that can score in multiple events, and that's a priority for me. So you're getting a big bang for your buck. Sorry, Sarah. That can hopefully have that high score for you. But ultimately, it's the personality of the person that I'm excited to work with, how I think they're going to mesh in with the team. And just their excitement for the program. You want someone that's excited about you, excited about the school, excited about their teammates. That's the greatest match that you can find. So the scholarship, at this point, you kind of know what performances are worth, where they would score in the conference. What money you have available sometimes is the biggest thing that determines it. If there's a year where I'm like, legit, I have 10%. There's people that I've called that are worth well more than that financially for their achievements. And I tell them directly, like, I'm sorry, I have 10%. I'm not playing hardball here. This is legit all I have. When we graduate some people out, we'll be able to increase you. But I didn't want you to think we didn't want you, just that's literally all I have right now. And sometimes it goes that way. So it's interesting every year.
Definitely. Yeah. Yeah, I would say, I'm just rereading the question. How do each of you decide to allocate scholarships between events? Yeah, I'm kind of with Lindsay, is like, I don't necessarily, not like, well, I need to fill this hole, so I need a scholarship in this in this event or whatever. It's more like who's the best kid. And even if I have 3 really good kids in one event, and those are my big scholarship kids or whatever, that's fine. Because otherwise I may have to divvy things up, and then those kids aren't ever going to get to the next level, but at least I got the event covered. I don't really think in those terms. Maybe some colleges do, I don't know, but I never really recruit based on what holes I need to fill. It's more based on who's the best athlete and who's the best kid that I like and who likes our program. And then I'll go hard after them. And if I'm heavy in one event and empty in another, that's okay. It'll even itself out over the years. All right. We got another javelin question. This one we kind of answered, but I will just bring it up. What's the minimum javelin distance from a high schooler that we look at as a recruit, basically? And I think we kind of covered that with that chart. And again, I'll post that chart on Instagram. We'll kind of look at, are they going to score in the conference? It's nice with the javelin because for the boys, it stays the same. It's the same weight. So
my husband shut the lights off on me. No big deal.
Pay your power bill.
Lights out, we're done.
It's bedtime. Sorry, shut the lights off.
So yeah, I don't know if you guys have anything to add on the javelin. The javelin's tricky because it's a one event person a lot of times, a person that doesn't score indoors. So keep that in mind. You're not bringing as much to the table scoring wise. But yeah, I have javelin inquiries. I'll look at where would they place in the conference. That's kind of my first line of defense. Are we in agreement? One thing I want to
so
yeah, you threw a broomstick. You're back in broomstick work. One thing I want to bring up. Okay, did anyone know that Powell, she's a 6-time All-American, okay? But she probably only threw the discus 4 times to earn those 4 All-American spots. So what other event? Where are the other 2 All-American spots coming from?
Or who? I missed it.
For you.
You're a 6-time All-American, right?
Yeah.
You're known as a discus thrower.
Yes.
Shot put, maybe here and there, right? So what's the other event that you earned 2 American spots in?
Are you asking me?
Yeah.
The broomstick.
Yeah.
nice.
Yep.
Little known fact.
What's that?
Little known fact about you.
Yeah, I've actually had thrown javelin in age group track, age 12. So I'd thrown it. I had early exposure to it growing up, just, in youth track in the spring and summer. And I think, anyway, so didn't throw it as far as Dana, unfortunately. And then, what are you going to do though?
Yeah, but you
I wasn't good enough to throw javelin, so I did discus.
Yeah. The second event, the discus.
I guess the 1990. Okay, this is how old I am. The 1997, not even 8. Women's javelin competition still lives on the internet somewhere. Like you could Google it and find some sweet hair. And anyways, one of the athletes I coached was like, my dad on YouTube found your javelin from whatever, and I was like, really? As soon as I got in the car, I'm like this. I'm like, seriously? I'm like, oh my god, it's so embarrassing.
At least you had a second event. I didn't have a second event.
Found it.
Did you find it, Lindsay? Nice.
So the first one that pulls up. So just Susie Powell javelin.
Sweet elbow sleeve too. That's right.
Carrie, quick, screen share, quick.
Oh my gosh.
Please don't screen share. See,
Okay. Carrie will include the link.
Text it to me or something. Okay, and I feel like you picked up the jab again, Susie, in like 2015 or something like that.
2000, again, I'm old, so it was 2007. I started throwing it. Same year I broke the record. Yeah, and I was practicing. I mean, who cares? But I was practicing in the 180s, and was scheduled to do Prefontaine, and then in classic Susie fashion, sometime in early May. I remember 2007, I blew up my elbow again, and that was it.
Wow.
So as soon as I no 7, Yeah,
Oh my One.
you would have killed me probably. Yeah. So anyway, yeah, this is the old Achilles heel here. And as soon as javelin started to hurt my discus, I had to peace out.
Yeah.
I do love it. And I really like in the state of California, you know, we don't have any exposure to it for high school athletes except for a club track. And so I think I've shared with Dana and some other people that will let me blab in their ear. Like it's really, I'm excited I really want to get more exposure to young girls, well, boys too, but just to kind of get that women's javelin more exposure at younger ages is something I'm very interested in working on, you know, in my life as a coach.
Yeah. Awesome.
And I'm sure I'll be roping in all of you to that player at some point.
Perfect. Okay, let me see what else we got here. We kind of talked about this one a lot in the last session. I'll bring it up and then whoever, I don't know who sent this in, but maybe reference the last recording. Would you suggest being elite at one throw or being well-rounded in 2 or more throws for a high school athlete looking to compete in college?
You vote for 5.
Lindsay's like 10, we need 10. In high school, they're asking in high school.
In high school.
Do one event or do multiple events?
Correct.
That's correct.
Yes. I think I would vote for multiple events.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because chances are, if you try really hard to be elite in one and you at the expense of the other 2, you've probably hit your ceiling. And so a college coach may realize that. And then you've spent 4 years not sort of honing your skill in the other 2. And like we've said, you kind of become less attractive, especially if that one event is an outdoor event only. So yeah, I would say, you know, like Susie is an incredibly elite discus thrower, but had a javelin throw to, you know, bring some points as well. And maybe the shot, maybe, I don't know. Did you throw like at UCLA?
Yeah, I did. And no, wait, let's back that up. I threw shot put at UCLA only during indoor season. So basically as a senior, it was done as a favor so I could go gambling at their indoor Reno meets.
But
No, truly. And I'm not like a gambler or anything, but they're like, Susie, do you want to go to the indoor meet at Reno? I'm like, yeah. I've never done an indoor meet. So I practiced the glide, hit 42 feet, which I feel like is respectable for, you know, a discus javelin person.
Yeah.
And actually it was horrible, but so I did it was like the Bill Cosby meet or
That's awesome.
Awesome.
But you guys are too young. Does anybody remember the indoor meets in Reno?
No.
Ben.
Seriously?
We just didn't go.
Am I ancient?
Well, and that's kind of, you know, before the internet, so.
Yeah. Yeah.
Might be able to find some videos on YouTube though, if you know, 97 javelin videos are up there.
With our awesome Reebok gear. Thanks, Reebok, for our crappy years of apparel. Oh my God.
But Susie, okay, so you were elite in the discus, but you were also like the best American high school discus thrower. So while you may not have been as well-rounded as doing 3 events, you were, you know, pretty elite. So, but how many kids are at that level?
Yeah.
So I would still argue that unless you're Susie Powell, coming out of high school, definitely have some other events to back it up and don't put all your eggs in one basket.
Susie, did you do other events in high school?
Yeah, I was a basketball player.
Yeah.
So I could post to
We
Dana.
talked about that actually. I think I do remember that.
Oh, break your ankle.
But in
I see the basketball hoop in your room, in your on the back of the door there. Yeah, I saw it.
Oh, nice.
that's awesome. Did
Yeah,
you do other events in track?
Guys, I can dunk.
Oh, in track, no. In high school, I just did discus and javelin. Like javelin was like the summertime soiree.
Yeah.
Obviously, because we don't throw it in California. But and I was good. Like I won some JO nationals and
Yeah.
I actually broke a JO national record at some point.
Yeah. Even you, Susie, American high school record holder, had a second event.
Do you like how I'm
Yeah.
getting all insecure about javelin? I'm like, no, wait, I was okay.
Expensive.
I mean, Dana did beat me in an accuracy contest at Ironwood last summer, but
Doesn't matter.
if I get a rematch, she's going down. I've been practicing this year.
Okay. All right. All right. So I think we covered a lot of that well-rounded stuff in the last talk. Another one that we covered, this question came up. Most high schools don't have javelin or hammer. What are you looking for in incoming freshmen as you assess their potential abilities in college? We talked about that at length in the last one. We even gave like a little test you can do on yourself to see if you have a decent arm in the javelin, and some things with the hammer as well. So check that one out, because I feel like there's a bit of crossover.
Can I ask a question just about events?
Totally.
Okay.
Totally.
So, because I have this question, just knowing, if you're trying to help people get to a 4-year, would you guys rather see, I'm kind of I think you've already answered it. You'd rather see someone excel in the hammer? Let's say they throw discus and jav, okay. So would you rather see them be better at hammer and have more exposure to hammer because then it somewhat translates to weight? Or would you rather have a third event maybe be javelin? Does it matter which of the other two, like less exposed events, they're good at? Do you have a preference or a hierarchy?
Anyone? Dana, you want to take that?
Like again, it goes back to depends on the conference.
Mm-hmm.
In my opinion, I think to some extent I like to keep the kids engaged with the hammer and the weight. But at the end of the day, if they don't have a strong like throwing arm, like an aptitude for throwing an implement, I don't mean shot, disc, or hammer. I'm saying like throwing a ball, throwing the stick.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Difficult that transition. So if you can make more bang for your buck with hammer and weight over time, I think we have a unique situation, not to talk to a specific institution, but I can recruit from baseball at our school, and our size of our general population doesn't fare well for the counter mass movements or the mass moves mass movements, if I can legally say that.
Yeah.
So I have like 6 or 7 jab throwers because they can train on their own, and I'm not limited by scholarships. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So until they limit our roster sizes, which is potential, right? It's a matter of how much I'm going to spread myself then. But
yeah, for me, I think all things being equal, I would prefer someone excel in the hammer and the weight. For a lot of the reasons you said, that they can score indoors. They're a little more like with the group. Javelin sometimes requires like a separate practice and stuff like that.
Sure.
But if it's not happening, I'm not going to force it. If they're a better javelin thrower, then yeah, that's a weak event in our conference. So I've got no problem converting someone to a jav thrower.
Okay.
Yeah.
Question for you, Carrie, if I could. I don't know if I'm across the lines here, but like, is that someone who you've already invested like scholarship money to, or they're like walked on the team and you're just trying to like see what you can get out of them?
I would say either one.
Okay.
Because I've invested in them probably for their shot discus potential for a different event. And so, yeah, that doesn't really come into play, I guess.
Okay.
Cool. All right. Oh, Elena is asking a question. She's asking about some mental stuff. Elena, we're going to talk about some mental preparation next week, I think. So we'll save that one. And then we got a question on training. How do you balance the health of the athlete and their training? Still getting gains in training without injuring them that follows them later into their life.
Mm.
I was like, oh, is that a former athlete of mine?
Starting to personal.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's a lot of the art of coaching, making sure you're balanced. And Lindsay talked about this on balancing all the physical training components. And when one gets out of whack, like you get super strong, but you're not very elastic, you're not very mobile, that's when injuries start happening. And vice versa, you could be really mobile, but not very strong, and stuff gets out of whack. So I think that's, big picture, that's how I balance it. I try to make sure we hit all the physical components of training, do a lot of antagonistic work, left-handed throws and that kind of stuff. But it's never perfect. I mean, there injuries happen. And so the other thing I will say is density of training I have found to be a great injury preventer. So instead of bunching up workouts back to back to back, with older athletes or injured athletes, we'll still do hard workouts, but we'll take more days in between. So I dissipate the density, I guess. And I think that's a great injury preventer.
Did any of you have to deal with a lot of injuries?
Yes.
This is Tommy John's. Yeah. Yes, I was injured often. Mm-hmm.
What do you now, right? Hindsight's 2020.
Yep.
What do you think now as a coach? Does that impact how you train your athletes? Is it purely just like knowledge that you've gained? Like what's your approach, because you were an athlete that had to deal with injury?
That's a great question. And fortunately, I can see the silver lining in all of it. So I'm enormously thankful for all the injuries and anything that did not go well, because you find out ways to do it better, or to come back from it. So everything, I think you're right. So as soon as I became a coach, you find yourself kind of maybe repeating the same things that you were taught because you were taught, but then you can take a step back and go, wait, why am I doing this? Is this just because of habit? So then a lot of the things, I had really great coaches that you took the great things from them, and then you studied a lot of other things. And I think the biggest thing for me is that's the priority, is you're keeping the athlete healthy to be able to progress. So it will never be a question if later in life that they're injured because you took care of them from the beginning and progressed them on their pace. So all of the really important prehab, rehab, you have to know your athletes and watch them at all times. So their entire warm up is basically prehab now, and stuff that I've learned through hip surgery, elbow surgery, ankle surgery, hand surgery, on how to make them better so they don't have to be in that position ever. Hopefully. And granted, there's anomalies. Everybody has something different in their body that's going to come out as an imbalance or whatnot. And you find those, but you just try to become the best sleuth you can possibly be for each athlete, and watch them walk and see if they're wearing flip-flops across campus, or if they're wearing something with heels, or if they're slouching because their backpack's too heavy. Like all of that stuff, when you see them on their phone all day like this, it's going to total up into something that's going to come out later on as an injury. So you just try to give them gentle cues that, though I have you for 2 to 4 hours a day, the 24 hours of your life, you're an athlete. How are you sleeping? How are you lying? How do you drive your car? Are you riding your bike? Are you, please don't ride a longboard? Those type of things.
Dave used to always tell us, like, specifically around break time, right? Like, you're about to go home for 3 weeks at Christmas time, or you might have like 4 or 5 days at Thanksgiving. He used to tell us, if you don't do it weekly, you don't get to do it now. Like, if this is already an activity that you do weekly right now, don't even try it when you go home, because if you call me and tell me you got hurt doing something, I'm not gonna have any sympathy for you.
Yeah. That sounds about right.
Probably because he did that. He was probably the athlete at UCLA. He'd go home and do something stupid and then end up injured or something.
Yep.
What were those Fridays called, Susie?
Indoor Fridays.
Indoor Fridays. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. We should wrap it up. There's a few more questions that have come in, so we'll hit that. And there's one, a poor distance runner asked me a question. So I'm sorry. We'll wait. We'll hit it next week, on Monday. And then there's a couple more that came in on the chat, so we'll hit them on Monday. So Yeah, anything else you guys have to add about recruiting and all that stuff? Advice you can give? We're feeling
You
good.
have to be registered in the NCAA Eligibility Center. You have to make sure you do that.
Yeah, what's the, did you figure out the address?
So ncaa.org is going to lead them to a lot of great places.
That's what I thought. Okay, cool. There we go. Yeah, register for the eligibility center. They've allowed a few, what do you call it? Like they're sort of, I can't speak. They're not necessarily requiring SATs if you haven't taken the SAT yet, because of the COVID-19 stuff. They're allowing, I think, some form of
Exceptions.
unofficial, exceptions. Thank you. I mean, I used my one big word with prognosticate, and that's it. So,
You made the vote.
yeah. And I think they're also allowing like less than official transcripts to come in, if I believe. The last I heard, I get like 16 emails a day on updates, but I think they're allowing official copies of transcripts to be emailed from the kids' account versus schools sending transcripts in, because a lot of schools are not open. So so yeah, check with the eligibility center, get a number, and then you're kind of like a person and a recruit, and you get a lot more information that way. Yeah, last thing I'll say, I want to bring this up. So I know there's a lot of high school coaches that are watching, and I found this the other day. I just had time finally to like organize my room. I framed it. This is a card. Sorry, the glare. That was given to, can you read it? Is it backwards?
No, it's good. Keep
Oh,
faith
okay.
in yourself. Yeah.
Okay. So this is a card that was given to me by my high school throws coach. And if you know me, I wasn't a thrower, right? So I like sought him out. I was having some issues in high school, emotional stuff. And he was a teacher, and I really liked him. And so I would sit in his office like after school before practice, and he would just talk. And he gave that to me. And I found it. I carried this with me to every high school meet and then every college meet. And I finally got a cool frame for it. And now it's up in my office and all that. But my point is, as a high school coach, I know this is hard times and you miss your kids miss you, but just know that you are incredibly valued. And a lot of coaches, especially high school coaches, but also college coaches, you are the parent figure in a kid's life. You are the positive figure in a kid's life. And I know everyone's kind of going through hard times and missing their kids, but you are absolutely valued for, I'm getting emotional, for years. And just keep that in mind. And thank you for the work that you do. A lot of high school coaches don't get paid much, and they do it because they love it. And I saw a Facebook post today. This one guy's a middle school coach, and he's like, I'm dying. I miss my kids so much. But everyone's going through it. And again, thank you for your selfless work. And just think of all the positive things right now. You don't have to drive a school bus and go to track meet every weekend for 12 hours and all that stuff. So,
but it's been like the best weather ever this spring in Wyoming. Like, come on. We haven't had snow on any Saturday yet this spring, I don't think. Oh.
Goals, Wyoming goals. Yeah. Okay. All right. So anyone else, anything to add?
Your word is a word.
We're good.
Prognosticate is actually a word. Good job.
Roasted, every one of you.
Lindsay's like dropping knowledge on everybody tonight. She's just confirming everything, man. She's on it.
Be the fact checker.
Sweet. Okay, so now everyone gets a break from us for like 5 days. And we will be back Monday. What are we talking about on Monday? Oh, like coaching career stuff. Mentors, coaching challenges, some coaches ed, all that kind of stuff. And then there's a couple more questions that have come up, so we'll address those then too. So thanks for watching, everyone. Ladies, thanks for chatting, spending your Wednesday evening with us. And goodbye. We'll see you next week.
Thanks. Bye, guys.
See ya.